the ethic is pretty straightforward. Anything that cries is a baby. It's like, no, some things that cry are monsters.
Ooh.
Right. Well, let's take the case of Nicola Sturgeon, the Scottish Prime Minister, the previous Scottish Prime Minister. Any man who wants to can be a woman. It's like, okay, any man. You mean any man, do you? Yeah. Have you encountered the nightmare men? Oh, they don't exist. They're all victims. Yeah. You just bloody well wait till you encounter one. You'll change your story very rapidly. And for the naive and sheltered empaths of the radical left, they're either psychopaths, so they're wolves in sheep clothing, or they're people that are so naive that the what would you say, Red Riding Hood's grandmother can definitely have his way with them.
Yes.
Because women are more agreeable, they're more prone to manipulation by psychopaths because their primary ethos is nurturing.
Yeah.
For a naive woman, every victim is a baby. It's like, fine, 90% of them are victims. You could even say that about criminals. You go to a run-of-the-mill prison, and there's going to be people in there, and you heard their lives, you think, oh my God, no wonder.
Right.
And then there's another core group that's like, oh, I see who you are. You're if I saw inside your skull for 5 seconds, I'd have post-traumatic stress disorder. I never recover. Right? Those people don't exist. It's like, yes, they exist.
Yeah, they exist.
Yeah, and they're very good at crying like infants.
Yeah.
Right. They're the worst men cry victim and look for sympathy from women. Yeah. There was a famous a serial killer who did that. The lawyer, Ted Bundy. You know what his trick was? He had a VW, if I remember correctly. He had a cast that he could take on and off. So he put his hood up. Maybe it wasn't a VW. He put his hood up because his car didn't work. And he did it around places where he knew there were young women. And then he'd entice them to stop because, well, poor Ted, because he's crippled and his car doesn't work. And then the woman learned very painfully the difference between a monster and a baby. Right. Brutal. He was a bad guy. There are some bad people. And a fair number of them like to dress in women's clothing, let's say.
Yeah.
Yeah. When that reality is thrust upon you unawares, you develop post-traumatic stress disorder. Right? Because it's naive people who encounter malevolence develop PTSD. That's the pathway.
Yeah.
So if you want to make your children susceptible to PTSD, like all these kids that are triggered by everything,
right,
make them extremely naive and then let them encounter malevolence. Right? Because you're supposed to teach them to handle serpents. Right? Right, to identify them and handle them. And that means they have to learn about the nature of the world. And the girls to differentiate between snakes and babies.
Yeah.
Right. And babies and men. And the man who worms his way into your dreams because he's a dependent infant, he's a snake. Yeah. And your sympathy is wasted on him. Yes, there certainly are. Man, I tell you, those riots that used to gather around me, that was mostly 2017, before I stopped speaking at universities mostly. The women were pretty bad. Harpy City, man. And this righteous, feminine, toxic compassion just screeching at the top of its lungs. But the men that were with them, oh my God, I didn't want to be within 3 feet of them. It's like, I'll be your friend.
Yeah.
You see those people on the net talking to children. I'll be your friend. When your family abandons you, I'm here for you. They don't understand. Not like me. We could be closer than anybody has been with you. That just barely scrapes the surface of awful. Like, awful is a long, long ways down. Yeah. So the female-dominated disciplines are the most woke by far.
Why?
And so I think it's because of that basic ethos of compassion. All who cry are babies. Well, look, that's the right default for women.
Yeah.
Like wise women. My wife is one of these women. She was a very good mother. she never thought adult men were babies. Like, one of the things that's quite striking about my wife is that if you're a useless man, she doesn't feel sorry for you. You're not a baby. Now, she's really good at taking care of babies. And so she got to be, she's discriminating in her empathy. And we're in a situation now where people think that indiscriminate empathy is a virtue. That's Eve's sin. Right. See, Eve wants to put the feminine ethos at the top of the hierarchy of value. That replaces God, right? And that causes the fall. And then Adam, he's such a cuck. That's exactly it. Is that he goes along with her. He doesn't stand up and tell her that maybe she shouldn't be listening to poisonous serpents. He doesn't. He consumes with her what she delivers so that she'll be his friend, because you know how useful men like that are. Yeah. And then when the fall happens, he complains to God that God made Eve and cursed him with her. That's the story. So it's not just women. And we got to get this straight. Women with their drive towards indiscriminate compassion, so that even the serpents are their children. It's men too who won't say. They always say, yes, dear, whatever you want. Yes, dear. Weak men who who don't help the women set boundaries. Now, you got to do that as a man, like when you and your wife have a baby, for the first 9 months, every time the baby cries, it's right? You respond to a baby's cries as if it's right 100% of the time, because human infants are so dependent and utterly unable to fend for themselves. So that sets up a very powerful feminine dynamic. It's like, if it cries, take care of it. Okay, so what are the men for? It's like, if it cries, take care of it, except that. That's a false cry. And you see that with kids. They'll start playing with that by the time they're 9 or 10 months old, right? Yes, of course. And so you differentiate. It's like, oh no, that's not a baby. That's a snake. Well, are you sure it's not a baby? It's like, nope, snake, for sure. Snake, poisonous snake, in fact. Right. Well, I'm feeling pretty sorry for it. It's like, save your compassion for the truly needy and leave the snakes to me.